friends. So I actually decided to redo this video. I had already filmed it and I was already going to edit it, and then I decided, no, let's take a step back. Let's look at those goals again, try to drill down on them, get them a little bit more clarified. So I feel pretty good about where they're at right now. I also wanted to give better summaries, or at least a better idea of the books that are on my 2024 TBR, and I think I've managed to do that, so I'm looking forward to sharing that as well. Those are the two things you can expect from this video. So first we're going to talk about goals. Of course, I've set my goals on Storygraph and Goodreads. You guys will probably have seen it if you follow me on either of those platforms. My links are always down below. For me, it's interesting because I don't actually look at the number very much or very often. I think it's just because I tend to just go from read to read, and I just like to update my status on both of those sites just to let you guys know what I'm thinking at any given moment, or to track my own progress. For me at this point, the important part is to read a little bit every day, not so much the numbers. It's just lucky that I tend to read a lot and a lot of different kinds of things, and it helps me hit my goal pretty easily. Now we're going to talk about my specific goals, and there are 5 of them. So the first goal is one that is not going to be unfamiliar to a lot of people who have followed me for a while, and I have dubbed it TBR Takedown. Basically, it's just reading books off my TBR to get my numbers down, and I'm really motivated to continue pursuing this given that in 2023 I did a really, really good job with it. Like, I got my TBR down from over 100 books to like 30 something books, which is wild to me. And it's also interesting because most of the books I ended up reading that were on my TBR ended up being books that I really loved. Apparently, I know myself pretty well and can pick books that I think will appeal to me overall. Of course, this number increased again by the end of 2023 because of the holidays and gifts that I got from friends and more books that I received from publishers, but I am determined to whittle away at that number and get it back down to a reasonable amount. The second goal, number 2, is something I've dubbed prime percentage. And what that really means is to focus on reading books that are in my NetGalley backlog in order to get my feedback ratio up. I'm actually at a pretty good place with it, but there is an ideal number that I would like to hit just for myself. So I would like to get rid of some of the backlog titles, maybe by trying them out, and if I don't feel like reading them, explaining why, or maybe I will read something that already came out a while ago and I will realize it's a new favorite. Who knows? The point is, I want to clear up that backlog a little bit, so fingers crossed that I get it done. Number 3 is what I have called serious about series. So last year I actually did a pretty good job of this as well, even though it wasn't a goal for me. I decided to make it an official goal, so I want to finish or get caught up on series, and I especially wanted to focus on completed series that I own. I can think of so many off the top of my head. The Becca Cooper series, the Greenbone Saga, I own the whole thing. The Gilded Wolves, I own the whole thing. I have a lot of series that I need to get caught up on, so I really want to do that. It will also help me with the TBR stuff, so that's a good thing. Then we have number 4, and this is a goal that I just feel like it's going to be easier for me to do because I've decided to, not delay on this and just give in whenever I feel like it, and I'm calling it Manga Mayhem. Basically, I just want to finish or get caught up on a manga series every single month. There are a lot of manga series that I actually own where I was anime exclusive in my experience of the story, and I would really like to change that. There are also other manga series that I'm interested in trying or checking out, and I'm hoping to be able to do that as well within the year. Lucky for me, January is off to a great start because I've actually managed to get caught up on 2 different series, which is pretty damn cool. And my last goal, number 5, is buddy read books. So I have 2 different buddy reads that I do without fail every month, and that is my family book club and my buddy reads with Danica. And I was really good about staying up to date on both last year, and I want to do the same this year and just keep at it. We're always trying to read a variety of things in my family book club, and Danica and I tend to lean more towards like fantasy with a special focus on indie authors and female authors. We do have a couple of new to us authors that we've added this year, which we're really excited about, and we're using a fun little thing to try and pick out the titles this year. So I just want to make sure I'm staying up to date on those. So those are all my main reading goals, and now I want to show off my 2024 TBR. These are all books that were already on my shelves. What I did was I had Macky pick them out, and he went with whatever struck his fancy while he was perusing my TBR shelf. And so I have 12 books to share with you guys, and I'm pretty excited about that. The first book that I wanted to talk about from this TBR is one that I feel weirdly intimidated by, and it's not because it's long, but it's because it's by an author that I've never tried, and I also know that Macky liked it, and I want to like it too because obviously he liked it, but I don't know. This is not normally something that I would pick up myself. And that book is The Blind Assassin, which is by Margaret Atwood. This is actually Maggie's copy that he gave to me to put on my TBR shelf because he wants me to read it. This is going to be the year. This has multiple narratives woven together. There's one where a character named Iris is talking about her sister's death, and then there's another where it's a novel within a novel with a sci-fi story about two unnamed lovers. Like, I don't know how that all fits in together. I don't know where the blind assassin comes in. I'm definitely curious about this one. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it, but I do think it'll be interesting to discuss with Macky when I finish. The next book is A Natural History of Dragons, which is a memoir by Lady Trent. That's the name of the series, and this is by Marie Brennan. This is about the character Lady Trent. She recounts, in her own words, the story of the adventures and the sort of risks she embarks on to pursue her passion for learning and for history and, of course, for dragons, and how she became the world's preeminent dragon naturalist, which honestly just sounds like a good time to be. I am in a big dragon mood these days. This is like a side note. I feel like Macky inadvertently ended up picking books that would work really well for a lot of my goals, not just the main one of like, you know, reading more from my TBR. Like, there were other goals that he was able to pick books for, and The Silvered Serpents is one of those because it's the second book in a series. This is the sequel to The Gilded Wolves, which is set in 1889 Paris. In the first book, Severin, the main character, brings together a band of unlikely experts in order to hunt down an ancient artifact for an organization called the Order. And what he'll get in exchange is his true inheritance. And I really like the first book. I've actually read it twice. I just never continued on with the series, and that is a travesty considering I have read and loved other work by Roshni Chokshi. So I'm gonna fix that this year. The next book is also by an author that I've read before, and that's Silver Under Nightfall, which is by Rin Chupeco. So the main thing that I know about this one is that it has Castlevania vibes. The actual plot of the story is that there is an elite vampire bounty hunter named Remy who is investigating this new breed of vampires that suddenly appeared. It appears like a disease is also spreading, and he ends up crossing paths with a vampire heiress, Xiao Dan, and her vampire lord fiancé, Zidan. Then the trio ends up working together to try and solve this mystery, and Remy finds his abilities and his knowledge and his loyalties challenged along the way, which sounds pretty good to me. This is a book that I also am unsure how I'm going to feel about. So I do want to read it to see how I feel before the next book in the series comes out, and that is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. This is her first adult fantasy, and it is set in a world outside of the Shadowhunters universe that she's been known to write in for years and years and years now. Kel is one of our main characters. He's been prepared to be the Swordcatcher all his life, and that basically means he's a body double for the prince. And there's another character named Lynn who is a healer with magic abilities who is really desperate to access some forbidden knowledge in order to save her best friend. The two of them end up crossing paths after a failed assassination attempt, and they end up getting drawn into the underworld, which is ruled by an individual known as the Ragpicker King. This edition, by the way, I believe is the Illumicrate edition. Yeah, this is the Illumicrate edition of Swordcatcher. It's beautiful. I am really curious. It is a chunky book, so it's going to take me some time to get through it, but we'll have to see how this goes. I am a big fan of the Shadowhunters universe in general, so I will be curious to see how it is when she's writing outside of that. The next book is Threads That Bind, which is by Kika Hatsupulu. And the summary on Goodreads says, in a world where the children of the gods inherit their powers, a descendant of the Greek fates must solve a series of impossible murders to save her sisters, her soulmate, and her city, which sounds pretty epic. This is the beautiful Fairyloot edition of the book, which has a lot of the colors I like, and I'm really looking forward to checking it out because I am a sucker for anything that ties itself to Greek myths. Then we have a wee bitty book called Tokyo Fashion by Nodoka, which I bought years and years ago. This is an illustrated guide to Japanese style, which I'm always interested in, and I'm looking forward to like flipping through this one, maybe incorporating some of the tips into my own wardrobe. We'll see. Next book is Bonesmith, which is by Nikki Paupreto. This is also a Fairyloot edition. I really love how it turned out. In this one, a disgraced ghost-fighting warrior must journey into a haunted wasteland to rescue a kidnapped prince. And if that doesn't sound epic, I don't know what else to tell you. It sounds right up my alley, so I'm really looking forward to reading it. The next book is by an author who I actually have read from before, and I really like the way she writes, and that's Rebecca Ross, and the book is Sisters of Sword and Song, which is one of her standalone novels. Sisters of Sword and Song is about Evadne, or Eve, I don't know how to say that name actually, so I hope I said it right. But anyway, so Evadne's long-awaited reunion with her sister Halcyon is basically thrown into chaos when she learns that Halcyon has been accused of murder. She's really determined to find out the truth, and so Eva volunteers to serve part of Halcyon's sentence, and then she finds out that things are not as they seem. Sounds like your pretty typical standard YA fantasy, but because I enjoy Rebecca Ross and her writing, I think I'm gonna like this one. We have a relatively new release that I'm really excited about, and it's because of the comp titles, but we'll get to that in a second. The book is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, which is by Brandon Sanderson. The thing that appealed to me the most about this one, it got compared to Your Name, which is a movie I absolutely love it so much, and I'm really excited to read this book. Anyway, this is about Yumi and Painter, and they come from two very different worlds. They're suddenly finding their lives intertwined in strange ways, and they have to put their differences aside and work together in order to save each other's worlds, and that just sounds incredible to me. The second to last book is another YA fantasy, and it's A Far Wilder Magic, which is by Alison Saff. A Far Wilder Magic is about Margaret Welty, who is a talented sharpshooter, and Weston Winters, who is an aspiring alchemist, and they team up to participate in the Half Moon Hunt, which is a hunt where whoever is able to kill the legendary Hala, which is one of the last mythical beasts, is going to earn fame, riches, and unlock an ancient magical secret. Sounds pretty epic. I also really love the art style of this cover, so can't wait. And the very last book that I'm going to mention in this video is also by an author that I have read from before, but not in this genre. And the book is There Should Have Been 8 by Nalini Singh, which has a pretty eerie looking cover. In this one, 7 friends gather together at an estate. The estate actually belongs to an 8th deceased friend of theirs, and the 7 have gotten together for a weekend away, but they wind up snowed in, and while they're trapped in this estate, intense emotions and truths about their shared history are starting to come to light. So I'm really curious. I've never read anything Nalini Singh outside of the Guild Hunter series yet, so I wonder how I'm going to react to this, especially given that it's not a genre that I usually reach for myself, so we're just going to have to see. That is my 2024 TBR. Those are my reading goals for the year. I would love it if you share maybe one of your reading goals or something that is on your 2024 TBR as well with me in the comments. I would love to hear all about it. And again, thank you so much for watching this video and for sticking around. I promise I'm trying to upload more regularly this year. Fingers crossed that that will be the case. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!